All right, welcome to the Championship Mindset, where we talk about overall health and fitness and mindset for both non athletes and athletes alike to develop a true championship lifestyle. Because let's face it, whether you're a non athlete, an athlete who is currently competing in sports, or you're somebody who used to be an athlete but you're past the point where you compete, we all aspire to be a true champion. We all want to be successful in our lives. Though, after we're outside of sports, and even while we're inside of sports, sometimes we don't always know what that looks like. And especially for somebody who doesn't ever participate in sports, who still wants to succeed in life, we also don't know what that looks like. So we have a lot to talk about. Let's get into it. For episode one, we're going to change the way that you perceive being successful, but also look at what it takes to gain success. So, in a lot of different places, there's this idea that being successful can only be achieved when you actually attain the goal that you set out. So, let's say as an athlete, attained the goal of being a state champion. That was the goal that I wanted. That was the goal that I achieved. I am successful. Though, if I fall short of that and get second place, third place, fourth place, anything less than first place, then that automatically means I am a failure. I failed at my goal. I failed in my journey to be successful. So when we start to create this dual mindset here where we're either successful or we fail, what it creates is a label on ourself. Where if I succeed in my goal and become the state champion that I wanted to be, then I am a successful human. All the work that I did to become that successful human was worth it. It had meaning, and I can live the rest of my life feeling good about myself. But if I don't achieve my goal and I fail, then all the work that I put up to that point has no meaning. All the effort that I put in, all the lessons that I learned, it's all worthless because I didn't achieve my goal. So, being somebody who currently works with a lot of individuals about mindset and mental health, there's a lot of times this idea for post athletes after they graduate and finish their career that they either wasted their time competing or that they have a lot of regrets, feeling like they should have done this. What if this happens? Maybe I could have done this better. And there's a lot of past, backwards focused thinking on our life. Now, anybody listening to this can tell you that we can't change the past. Everything is in the present and everything is in the future. But we cannot go back and change how things were, right? So when we go back to that dual dynamic between either being a success or being a failure, there's another part that's completely overlooked, and that is the journey in between. Imagine you're on a road walking towards the peak of a mountain, and success is the peak of the mountain. Failure would be anything less than that. I would personally define failure, and when I work with my mindset clients and my mental health clients, failure isn't being anywhere less than the peak. Failure would be still being at the starting line. So then, by that logic, success would be anywhere between the starting line and the peak of that mountain, right? However, everybody has a different definition of what they deem successful in their own eyes. Because if we don't reach that peak, in some people's eyes, that is the only thing that defines success. Though, if that isn't true, and you're somebody who wants to define success as somewhere along that road, then it's your job to decide where that line is. Is it 10 steps away from the starting line? Is it once you get to the foot of the mountain? Is it halfway up the mountain? Where is that line? And each person gets to decide that line differently. Now, unfortunately, a lot of times what happens is we get so hyper focused on reaching the peak of that mountain and hyper focused on achieving that goal. So we only ever define where that success line is after we fail reaching the peak of that mountain. So then we're caught in a struggle of trying to define our success based on our past, when in actuality, we should have already defined that line before we even started moving away from the starting point. So, how should we do this? How can a person go about this? And even beyond just being an athlete, if we're somebody who lives a day to day life and doesn't do sports, how do we define success there too? If the end point isn't where the success is, where does success lie? And a lot of times it goes back to having an effort focus as opposed to an outcome focus, because the outcome focus would be reaching that mountain peak. And the effort would be how far, how hard you worked, how much knowledge and skills you gained in the path to getting to that mountain peak. So the effort that you put in, the skills that you learned, all the knowledge that you gained, regardless of whether you reach the mountain peak or only get to the foot of the mountain, you are farther and bigger and better and grown from the person that you were at that starting point. That, to me, is growth, which growth means success. So, in that lens, success is solely defined by the effort that you put in. What defines effort? And the most logical way to define effort would be perseverance, right? Because we can put in effort day in and day out, but if we're just doing the bare minimum, that's not true effort. We're just maintaining the status quo. And if we're trying to grow into a life that's bigger than the one that we currently have, putting in minimum effort and maintaining the status quo is not stepping forward on that path. It is staying at the starting line. Like we talked about earlier, staying on the starting line is the only thing that defines failure. So if we're putting in more and more and more effort each day, if we're doing more and more to continue to grow, to become that person who can make it to the peak of that mountain, or at least attempt to, that is success. Success is defined inside of your perseverance, inside of your efforts, inside of your fight. And that is why part of the reason, because me as a former wrestler and current wrestling coach, fight is so important to all my athletes to teach, because it translates so directly to life. Life is not just synonymous with sports. It is synonymous with everything and anything that we do, because no goal that we ever try to achieve is going to be easy. Because if we just want a normal life, then we don't have to try. Like, it's just given to us by breathing air and eating food and just living. If you don't want that and you want something bigger and better, then it requires effort. It requires sacrifice. It requires a little bit of suffering and a little bit of pain, but it also requires a positive attitude and certain level of gratitude towards the process. Because if you're not grateful for the ground beneath your feet while you're taking one step at a time towards that mountain peak, then maybe the ground beneath your feet doesn't mean anything to you. So then the journey itself also doesn't mean anything to you. And if the journey doesn't mean anything to you, then what's the point of being on it? So as long as we're focused on the fight inside of ourselves, focused on persevering despite adversity, because no journey is going to be without obstacles. And it's those obstacles that give the journey meaning. Then at the end of the day, at the end of the year, at the end of our 10-year process, at the end of our athletic careers, we can look back and say that we were successful because we are grown from the person we were when we first started. Though if we weren't grateful for the ground beneath our feet and we actually kind of reduced ourselves into somebody maybe worse than the person that we started in, that is also defined as failure, because the whole point of it was to become something greater, become something bigger, not to become a more negative, pessimistic, cruel person or rude because we're thinking about all the things that we didn't achieve and then looking at people who did achieve it and then we get jealous of those people. That is not success. Success is developing a mindset where you learn how to fight through adversity, to maintain a positive attitude through those sort of challenges, regardless of what they are and whatever goals that you have. And then learning how to trust the process, learning to trust yourself, and learning to overall be an independent person. Not to say that you shouldn't ever accept help, because we absolutely should. But there's something to be said for knowing that you could do it yourself because you have those capabilities, but acknowledging that somebody offering you help provides an easier path. We're accepting the easier path, knowing that we could do it ourselves. And then that's what creates relationships, positive relationships, not relationships where there's a sense of dependency to where we couldn't be successful without those people. When you become a truly independent person in life, when you're somebody who can truly rely on yourself to fight through adversity and focus on your effort and make that effort always to its maximum level it can always possibly be, and you can rely on yourself to be persevering through whatever challenges come your way, then that in and of itself is the true championship lifestyle. Now, with all of this being said, I think it's normal to feel like that is a level of mindset slash mental reflection that seems scary. And a lot of people don't like looking back on their life and reliving a lot of those memories and going back through and being honest about what happened in their life and reflecting on it and acknowledging some faults that they have and acknowledging mistakes. But that is also part of life. Those are another challenges in your journey, because we can't move forward. We can't continue to move forward unless we're willing to walk on that path, on that trail to that mountain peak with honesty and acceptance. Acceptance will lead to commitment to then move past those challenges, those obstacles. Like I said, we need to be grateful, have gratitude for the ground beneath our feet. So we're moving forward on that journey. Because the true mountain peak is not winning a state championship. It is not getting that job that you want. It is not having a fancy car or a lot of money. What is truly at that mountain peak is the best version of yourself. When you become the best version of yourself and you're able to be all aspects of you, the best aspects of you, where you're not controlled by your past, you're not controlled by your experiences, you are just you in every sense of the word. That is true freedom. And freedom is exactly what it's all about. Freedom can only be attained when you know who you are, when you live a positive life, and you live a life understanding that there is going to be adversities and you will be okay because you know how to persevere, you know how to fight, and you know how to make yourself put through maximum effort regardless of what you're going through. All right, that does it for episode 1. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, and these videos will be coming out once a month, so make sure that you follow along. I'll see you guys next time.